Let's get started with a two color brioche swatch. I have worsted weight yarn in two colors. I have my double pointed needles and my swatch instructions ready. To knit with worsted weight yarn, I usually use a 5mm needle, but for knitting brioche, I'm going to be using 3.5mm needles today. When you're trying to learn brioche, I find that going down needle sizes help me control my fabric and achieve a better tension with brioche knitting. I encourage you to do the same. Experiment with different needle sizes and get comfortable with what works for you. I'm using DPNs because we are only knitting a small swatch today. Please know that you will need longer circular needles to accommodate larger projects. Let's talk about how to select the two colors for your two color brioche project. My first suggestion would be, when you're beginning to learn brioche, please go for colors that have strong contrast between them. Let's take a look at this swatch here. It's knitted using pink and dark blue colors. Let's observe how these colors interact with each other in two color brioche fabric. So, when you look at this swatch, you can see that the pink color forms all the swirly designs of brioche, and it is very attractive to the eye. The dark blue color kind of recedes into the background and serves as a background for the pink color to pop. So let's try to remember it this way. Pink is our attractive color and the dark blue is our background color. Attractive for A for attractive, B for background. Color A and color B. This I hope is a helpful way to remember your colors throughout knitting this swatch. For this swatch, I am going to be using my darker color, the blue color, as the background color or color B, and the lighter color as color A. The first step is to cast on an odd number of stitches using your color A, which I have done. I have cast on 15 stitches. I've used German twisted cast on. You can use German twisted or long tail cast on, both are fine. Just make sure that your cast on stitches are loose and not too tight. Let's start with the setup rows. Row 1 is done using color A, and this will form the right side of the fabric. The first two and the last two stitches form the I-cord selvedge. Lather pattern is written with a 2-stitch I-cord selvedge, and we are going to be doing the same selvedge for this swatch. So the first two stitches and the last two stitches are going to be forming the selvedge, and the rest of the stitches will form the brioche fabric. Row 1 instructions says slip 1, knit 1, slip 1 yarn over, knit 1, slip 1 yarn over, knit 1. Repeat that until the last 3 stitches, and then slip 1 yarn over, knit 2. So of all these stitches, we know how to slip a stitch already, and we know how to knit a stitch. Slip 1 yarn over is the only stitch that seems new, and that is a brioche stitch, and let us look at how that works. Slip 1. So for the selvedges, I do not tension my yarn before I slip the selvedge stitches, because it is better to let the selvedge be as loose as possible, as loose and supple as possible, and it tends to give a neater edge to the fabric. Okay, slip 1, knit 1. Those are 2 selvage stitches done. Now to start with the brioche fabric. Slip 1 yarn over, knit 1. Okay. Before doing a slip 1 yarn over stitch, you want the yarn in front of your work. So bring the yarn in between the needles and to the front of your work, and then slip 1 yarn over again is just what it says. Slip and then give it a yarn over. So we are going to slip the stitch from the left needle to the right needle completely, and then bring the yarn over the slipped stitch and your right needle to the back of your work. Now you are ready to knit the next stitch. Again, bring yarn forward, slip the next stitch, yarn over the slipped stitch and the right needle. Bring the yarn behind your work, and then you are ready to knit the next stitch. Bring yarn forward, slip 1, yarn over the slipped stitch and the right needle behind your work, and then ready to knit the next stitch. So before doing slip 1 yarn over, your yarn should be in front of your work. So bring yarn forward, slip the next stitch, yarn over the slipped stitch and the right needle, and then go ahead and knit the next stitch. Slip 1, slip 1, yarn over, knit 1. Bring yarn forward. So we are at the last 3 stitches. Slip 1, yarn over, and then these 2 are selvage stitches. On the right side, we are going to just knit both of them. Yarn over, knit, and knit. Alright. This is row 1 complete. This is row 1 of setup rows. So these two are knit stitches, these two are knit stitches. In between we have slip 1 yarn over, knit 1, slip 1 yarn over, knit 1. So you can see those slip 1 yarn over stitches. Basically it is a 2-strand stitch. Okay. This is the stitch you slipped, and this is the yarn over around that stitch. The yarn over goes from right to left diagonally like this. Sometimes it gets separated, but you need to, after this, you need to treat them as one stitch. It is a 2-strand stitch, but it is a single stitch. So you will knit them together. When you are binding off, you will treat them as a single stitch. When you are increasing, decreasing, for every kind of situation, this is going to be treated as a single unit. Row 1 of setup rows is complete using color A, and your color A is hanging from this end of the swatch. Now row 1, after completing row 1, it says slide. So this means you are going to slide your stitches to the other end of the needle, or the end where you started from, and you are going to work row 2 again, beginning from this direction using color B. And it says join color B right now. but I'm not going to do that yet. Let's take a look at the swatch here. This swatch is knitted with beige as color A and green as color B, and this has been knitted with 2 stitch I-cord selvedge. If you observe the I-cord selvedge, you can see that it is completely in color A and there is nothing to do with color B. So that means I will knit these 2 selvedge stitches first and then attach color B and start working my row 2. So for row 2, you are just going to slip the 2 selvedge stitches, slip and slip. Now bring color B between the 2 needles. The first stitch of the brioche portion is going to be a burp stitch, burp or brioche purl. So this is a slip-on yarn over stitch. This is a 2-strand stitch as we have seen already. Brioche purl means we are going to purl the 2 strands together using color B. So slip on yarn over brioche purl, slip on yarn over brioche purl. That is the stitch pattern for this row. So this is next stitch which I am going to do slip on yarn over. Now we know that before doing slip on yarn over, we want the yarn forward in front of our work. So because the previous stitch was a purl stitch, we already have the yarn in front. So we are just going to slip the next stitch onto the needle and yarn over the slipped stitch and the right needle. But this time we are going to go all the way back around and come back to the front, because our next stitch is going to be a brioche purl stitch for which we need the yarn in front also. So purl the 2 strands together, which is brioche purl. So that's your brioche purl stitch. Now slip on yarn over. We have the yarn in front already. Slip the next stitch, yarn over the slipped stitch around the right needle and bring it to the front, ready to brioche purl the next stitch. Yarn is already in front of your work. Slip the next stitch, yarn over around the stitch and the right needle and bring it to the front, ready to brioche purl the next stitch. Slip 1, yarn over brioche purl. Slip 1, yarn over brioche purl. We are at the last 2 stitches. These 2 are selvedge stitches. As we know, selvedge, the 2 stitch I-cord selvedge is being formed by color A only. So color B has nothing to do with these 2 stitches. So all we are going to do is slip and slip the 2 stitches, leaving this color in front of our work. Right now this is our right side. We want the background color to be always hanging on the right side of the fabric, so we have left it hanging in the front for now. this is row 2 of setup rows complete. Now you can see both color working yarn is hanging from the left edge of your swatch. Now, that means now it is time to turn your work and start working row 3 of the setup rows. Turn your work. So here is another brioche 2 color brioche 101 for you. Whether you are working on the right side of the fabric or the wrong side of the fabric, you are going to work with color A first and then go for color B. So color A is your attractive color, which means you will be always attracted to that and start working with it first. Just a little way to remember which is first and which is second. Now we are on the wrong side of the fabric, row 3 setup rows, and now let's start working with color A. Row 3 instructions read slip 1, purl 1, slip on yarn over burr 1 or brioche purl 1, slip on yarn over brioche purl 1 to the last 3 stitches. We know purl stitches, we know slip on yarn over, and we know brioche purl stitches. I think it is safe to say we know all the stitches in this row. So slip the first stitch as once again I don't tension my yarn before I slipped the edge stitches. And then the next one is purl. Selvedge stitch is done. Slip on yarn over brioche purl. So yarn is in front, ready to do slip on yarn over. Slip the next stitch, yarn over and around the slipped stitch and right needle. Bring it all the way to the front. Brioche purl is purl the 2 strands together. Yarn is in front already, slip the next stitch, yarn over and around the right needle, bring it all the way forward, ready to brioche purl the next stitch. Yarn is in front, ready to slip, slip on yarn over, bring yarn to the front of your work, brioche purl the next stitch, slip one yarn over, brioche purl, slip one yarn over, brioche purl, slip one yarn over, and then the last 2 stitches are your I-cord selvedge stitches. They just need to be purled on the wrong side. So purl and purl. Alright, so this is row 3 of setup rows completed. We know that we have completed working with color A. Now it's time to slide the stitches to the other end of the needle and start working with color B. Row 4 using color B on the wrong side, the instructions are slip 2 the edge stitches and then brioche knit, slip on yarn over, brioche knit, slip on yarn over, bark 1, slip on yarn over. That's going to be the brioche stitches until the last 3 stitches. So which means we are familiar with slip on yarn over, we are familiar with slip stitch, regular slip stitches, and the only new stitch seems to be bark 1 or brioche knit 1. So bark stitches are knitting the slipped stitch and its yarn over together. So slip 2, these are the I called selvedge stitches, and we are just going to slip them. It has nothing to do with color B. Now here are the 2 strands, knit them together with color B for bark 1 stitch. Bark 1 and then slip 1 yarn over bark 1, bring yarn to the front, slip the next stitch, yarn around your slipped stitch and your right needle, ready to knit the next stitch. Yarn forward, slip the next stitch, yarn around the slipped stitch and the right needle, ready to knit the next stitch. Bring yarn forward, slip the next stitch, yarn around the slipped stitch and the right needle, brioche knit the next stitch, slip 1 yarn over, brioche knit. The last 2 stitches are selvedge stitches, and they just need to be slipped on color B rows. So slip and slip. So this is row 4 complete, row 4 of setup rows complete. Now we have seen how to do slip on yarn over stitches, brioche knit and brioche purl stitches in all these 4 rows. So now the only thing that needs to be noted about slip on yarn over is the rhythm of slip on yarn over changes when you're depending on whether it is worked with brioche purl stitches or brioche knit stitches. If your row is going to be slip on yarn over brioche knit, slip on yarn over brioche knit as a repeat pattern, you are going to bring yarn forward, ready to slip the next stitch, slip it, give it a yarn over, bring yarn behind your work, and you're ready to brioche knit the next stitch. So yarn forward and then slip the next stitch. In case of rows where you are doing slip on yarn over and brioche purl, you already have the yarn in front of your work when you finish a purl stitch or a brioche purl stitch. So slip the next stitch, yarn over the slipped stitch and behind the right needle, and then bring yarn on all the way forward to brioche purl the next stitch. So it is good to know how the rhythm of slip on yarn over changes between these 2 types of rows. Both working yarn is hanging from the same end of the swatch. So now it is time to turn your work. Okay, so this is the right side of the fabric where color A is starting to show as knit columns. This is the right side of our fabric. Now let's start working our pattern rows. Whether we are on the right side or wrong side of the fabric, we are going to start working with color A. Row 1, color A of pattern rows says slip 1, knit 1, slip 1 yarn over brioche knit 1 until the last 3 stitches of the fabric. So let's start with slip 1. Again, I don't tension my yarn when I am doing the first slipped stitch of the selvedge, and then knit 1, 2 selvedge stitches complete. Now slip on yarn over brioche knit 1, slip on yarn over brioche knit 1. That's going to be the rhythm. So which means bring yarn forward before slipping, slip 1, yarn over the slipped stitch and around the right needle, bark 1, bring yarn to the front, slip the next stitch, yarn over the slipped stitch and the right needle, brioche knit 1, bring yarn forward, slip the stitch from the left needle to the right needle, yarn over and around the right needle, ready to knit the next stitch. Bring yarn forward, slip the next stitch, yarn over and around the next slipped stitch, yarn forward, slip 1, yarn over, bark 1, yarn forward, slip 1, yarn over, and then the last 2 stitches are to be knitted. Knit 1 and knit 2. Now our color A is hanging from the left edge of the fabric. That means we are going to slide the fabric and start working with color B. Row 2 instructions says slip 2, brioche pearl 1, slip on yarn over, brioche pearl 1, slip on yarn over until the end of the fabric. So slip 2, again these 2 stitches belong to the I-cord selvedge and this need not be worked with color B. So just slip them and then you can see that the color B is hanging from the front of the work. Color B, whenever you finish knitting with color B, leave it hanging on the right side of the work. Right side of the work is where color A is showing up as knit columns. So leave color B hanging on the right side of the work, so you will always find it in the correct position to start knitting. So bark 1, slip on yarn over and bring it forward, bark 1. When you are knitting pearl rows, your yarn is already forward, so slip the next stitch, yarn around the slipped stitch and bring it forward and purl. Yarn is already forward, slip the next stitch, bring it around the slip stitch and the right needle all the way to the front, ready to purl the next stitch. Slip 1, yarn over, brioche pearl 1, slip 1, yarn over, brioche pearl 1, and then we are at the last 2 stitches. These are selvedge stitches. These just needs to be slipped, but before that remember to leave the background color yarn, color B, hanging in front of the right side of the work. So I'll leave it hanging on the right side, slip and slip. This is row 2 of pattern rows complete. Now both color yarns are hanging from the left edge of the work. Now it is time to turn your work and proceed with row 3. Alright. This is the wrong side of the fabric. Whether you are working on the wrong side or the right side, you are going to use color A first. Row 3, color A. Slip 1, purl 1, and then slip 1 yarn over brioche purl 1. Slip 1 yarn over brioche purl 1. That's how this row is going to go. Slip 1, purl 1, slip 1 yarn over brioche 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 purl 1, slip 1 yarn over purl the last 2 stitches. That is row 3 complete. So that means we are done with the light color row. Now we are going to slide the stitches to the other end of the needle and start working with the color B. Color B instructions are slip 2, brioche knit 1, slip 1 yarn over, brioche knit 1, slip 1 yarn over. So slip 2 is because background color has nothing to do with these 2 stitches. Slip and slip. Brioche knit 1. Again, if you leave the background color hanging on the right side of the work always, you will find it in the correct position to knit with it. Brioche knit. Slip 1 yarn over, brioche knit 1, yarn forward, brioche knit 1, brioche knit rows. Remember to bring yarn forward before you slip the stitches. Slip 1, yarn over around the slipped stitch and the right needle, ready to knit the next stitch. Yarn forward, slip 1, brioche knit 1, yarn forward, slip 1, brioche knit 1. The last 2 stitches are to be slipped. Leave the background yarn hanging on the right side of the work. So this is the wrong side of the work. I'm going to leave it behind like this and then slip, slip. So this is row 4 of pattern rows complete. Now we have completed 4 setup rows and 4 pattern rows. So let's try to count brioche rows and see whether we have the correct number of rows on our needles. So brioche rows can be counted by counting the stitches on the knit columns, which means we have 1, 2, 3, 4. This says we have 4 rows of brioche knitted here. On the wrong side of the fabric, again we have 4 rows. So this is row 1. Remember, the setup row was done all in color A. So this is going to be a color A knit stitch. So row 1, 2, 3 and 4. We have 4 rows. We seem to have 4 rows on both sides of the fabric. Now, to understand this, we must try to remember that brioche is essentially a double knit fabric. How this is achieved is, in the very first row, we split the stitches on the needle into 2 groups by slipping one half of the stitches and knitting only the other half. And then we did not turn our work and start working on the other side of the fabric. Instead, we always slide our stitches back to where we started, so we can work again on the same set of stitches by knitting into the stitches we slipped previously and slipping the stitches that we already worked on. So every brioche row happens like this. Every brioche row happens in 2 passes. In the first pass, you knit one group of stitches and slip the rest. While slipping, you also give it a yarn over. And then for the second pass, you bring the fabric back to the same position and start doing your second pass with your second color. And at this time, you are going to slip the stitches that were worked in the earlier pass, and you are going to work the stitches that were slipped earlier. I hope this makes sense. When you keep working the swatches and try to associate it with this theory, I think it will make more sense. So how does that knowledge help us in counting brioche rows? We know that each brioche row is done in 2 passes. So counting is easy. We just count the visible stitches on the knit column 1, 2, 3 and 4. So there are 4 brioche rows done. But many patterns are written in such a way that they count each pass as a row. So when you see only 4 stitches on the knit column here, and you know that you have done 4 brioche rows, but in the pattern, if you look at the pattern, according to the pattern you would have completed 8 rows. So we did 4 setup rows and 4 pattern rows, 8 rows in total. So if you want to, you can just take the number of stitches on the knitted column and multiply it by 2 to match it with the pattern numbering. Also, let us take a look at how to count brioche stitches. So like I said in the beginning, the slipped stitch and its yarn over are always treated as one unit, one stitch. That means here we have 1, 2, those 2 are selvage stitches, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 and 15. We have 15 stitches on the needle, but it looks like we have more because of the double stranded slip-on yarn over stitches. So I'm going to repeat pattern rows one more time in continental style. For continental knitting, I have only one tip to keep the edge stitches really loose. Slip one, knit one, and then so I have my yarn on my working yarn on my left finger. Now I'm going to go under the working yarn and this stitch which needs to be slipped all in one motion and bring them to the right needle. Slip one, yarn over, complete, and then knit the next two strands together, which is the bark stitch or brioche knit. So again, under right needle under the working yarn and the stitch that needs to be slipped, slip one, yarn over, and then bark one or brioche knit one. Slip one, yarn over, brioche knit one. Slip one, yarn over, brioche knit one. All we are doing is after tensioning the yarn on my left finger, I'm just going under the yarn, under the working yarn, slip the stitch and the yarn both together on the right needle. Bark one, slip one, yarn over. Last two stitches are to be knitted. Knit one, knit two. Okay, that is row 1 of pattern rows complete. Now row 2. Slip 2 stitches, edge stitches, and then brioche pearl, slip on yarn over, brioche pearl, slip on yarn over. That's how it's going to go. So I am going to do my first pearl stitch in the English style. I cannot hold tension on the rightmost stitch always, so I do it like this and then switch over to Continental. So again, go under the wrapped yarn and slip the stitch. Slip on yarn over, brioche pearl 1. Slip on yarn over, brioche pearl 1. Slip on yarn over, brioche pearl 1. Slip on yarn over, pearl 1. Slip on yarn over, brioche pearl 1. And then now leave the background color on the right side of the fabric, which is in front. Then slip the last 2 stitches. So this is row 2 of pattern rows complete. Now let's move to row 3. So both color yarns are hanging from left edge of the work. So it's time to turn your work and start working the light color again. Start working color A again. Slip 1, pearl 1, slip 1 yarn over, brioche pearl, slip 1 yarn over, brioche pearl, slip 1 yarn over, brioche pearl, slip 1 yarn over, pearl, slip on yarn over, brioche pearl, slip on yarn over, pearl of the last 2 stitches, and pearl. Alright, now slide the stitches to the other end of the needle and start working with color B. Slip and slip the 2 edge stitches. Now this is your bark stitch and your yarn is already hanging in the correct position. Bark stitch. Now I tension my yarn for continental knitting and then slip one yarn over, bark 1, 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 slip one yarn over, bark 1. Leave the background color hanging on the right side of the work, which is behind my work, and then slip and slip. This is row 4 of pattern rows complete. Now that we have completed setup rows and 2 sets of pattern rows, we should have 12 passes or 6 brioche rows on our needle. So let's count the stitches appearing on the knit column and see if we have 6 knit stitches. So here is the very first one, which was the setup row. So it's going to show up really small. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 knit stitches, which indicates 12 rows according to the pattern, or 12 brioche passes complete. Now let us take a look at how brioche increases and decreases work. Now to understand increases decreases in brioche, it is good to think about brioche being a 1 by 1 ribbed fabric. This is 1 knit column, 1 purl column, 1 knit column, 1 purl column. So essentially most of the brioche patterns we see out there are made of 1 by 1 ribbed fabric. So decreases and increases in brioche happens in pairs of stitches. So what I mean by that is when you make a right slanting left slanting decrease or a right slanting decrease like this, it is worked over 3 stitches, and then 2 of those stitches would disappear and result in only 1 stitch. So here we see a knit column, a purl column, and then a knit column. So there are 3 stitches going on here, and then there is a right slanting decrease that happens here. The purl column and knit column kind of disappears underneath this, and then further there is only 1 column left, which is continuing here. So that's how decreases work. So when you decreased 2 stitches, 1 purl stitch and 1 knit stitch. Here the same thing happens on the left leaning decrease. So we started with knit column, purl column, knit column. All these 3 stitches are going on until here there is a left leaning decrease, under which this and this disappeared, and further only this column continues onto the fabric. Increases also happens in pairs. That means 1 column of stitches will be increased into 3 column of stitches. See, we started here and here we worked an increase stitch, and then therefore there are three. Thereafter there are three columns of stitches going on here. So this is fairly obvious to see than the decrease stitches probably. So with this knowledge, let us try to work increase and decrease stitches ourselves and see how they go. So here is my brioche swatch. This is the right side of the fabric where my knit columns are in color A. Increases and decreases are done on the right side of the brioche fabric. We'll start working with color A first. So I'm going to slip one, knit one, slip one yarn over, let us work right leaning decrease over these three columns. So this is a knit column, this is a purl column and another knit column. So we have 1, 2 and 3 stitches. Remember, the 2 strands of slip-on yarn over is counted as 1 stitch. 1, 2 and 3. But we have 5 strands to deal with, practically speaking. So right leaning decrease stitch, decreasing from 3 to 1 because decreases happens in pairs. So these 3 stitches will be reduced to 1 stitch. Right leaning decrease stitches are done by K3 together, knit 3 together. That's all we are going to do. So when we say knit 3 together, we have 5 strands to work through. So my way of doing this is hold your needles like almost vertically like this, and then go underneath the stitches, pass your needle through completely, and then turn it and try to count that and see if you have got 5 strands. Just to ensure that we don't drop anything, so I seem to have got all 5 here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now go ahead and knit all the 3 together. Like that. It's going to be really thick at this part, so I try to adjust it with my fingers so everything settles in layers like this. And then, so that is right leaning double decrease stitch, which means 3 stitches have become 1 stitch and it is leaning to the right. Now slip one yarn over the next stitch. Now we can do a left leaning decrease on these 2 stitches and keep this central one as an increase. So we have decreased 2 stitches here. We are going to decrease 2 more stitches here. That means 4 stitches will be decreased. I am going to compensate here by increasing this to 4 stitches. So increase stitches are worked by bark, yarn over, bark, yarn over, bark. That is the sequence. All these stitches worked into the same stitch, same spot. So this is slip on yarn over. I have the yarn over done here, and then now knit into this stitch, basically bark into this stitch, and after knitting I am not dropping it off the left needle. I am going to continue. So bark 1, yarn over here at this part, and then once again go into the stitch and do a knit 1. bark 1, bark 1, yarn over, bark 1, again yarn over, go ahead and bark once more. So that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So one stitch increased to 5 stitches. That is your bark, yarn over, bark, yarn over, bark. So again we are decreasing, we have decreased 2 stitches here, we are going to decrease 2 stitches here, but we have increased 4 here, so everything is compensated. Bring yarn to the front, slip on yarn over, decrease stitches. This will be a left leaning decrease, and here we are going to work over 3 columns of stitches. We have again knit column, purl column, knit column, and then the knit columns are all slip on yarn over, so they have 2 strands each, and we have 5 strands to deal with here. So this double decrease stitch is worked as sssk, or slip, slip, slip and knit. So these slips are done knitwise. So slip 1 knitwise, slip the second stitch knitwise, slip the third stitch knitwise. Again I am considering the 2 strands as 1 stitch only, so slip them together. Now slip all of these 3 back onto the left needle. One, 2 and 3. Okay. So all the 3 stitches are back on the left needle. Now the mount is changed, which means stitch mount is changed, which means the longer leg of the stitch is here on the back side. So we are going to go into the back loop of these stitches. Again turn your needle to see where you are going, like this. Okay, knit through the back strand of all these 3 stitches. So after putting your needle through completely, try to count the strands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got all strands. Now yarn over and knit through. There is a little bit of needle acrobatics involved in increase and decrease stitches, but if you slow down and execute these stitches carefully, this is going to be done. Okay. Now this is your left leaning decrease complete. Now let's finish the row. Slip one yarn over, knit 1 and knit 1. Now, so we can see that the increases and decreases are happening already, but this is just the light color A pass. Now we have to do another pass over the same stitches using color B. For the decrease stitches, it is pretty much done. There is nothing special that needs to be done with color B. But for the increase stitches, we need to work on those to recreate the columns that were lost here, right? When we decreased the stitches, we lost one knit column and one purl column. Here we lost one knit column and purl column. So those needs to be recreated when we reach the increase stitches, and that is not super hard. That is going to be easy, relatively easy. All right. Now slip, slip, and brioche purl. This is a single stitch. Now slip one yarn over, brioche purl. So this is a pass using the background color. We are going slip-on yarn over brioche pearl, slip-on yarn over brioche pearl until we reach these increased stitches, and then we are going to do basically the same thing, slip one yarn over, but we have only one strand. We will just purl it, purl. Slip one yarn over, purl one. So that has created the lost columns, the four columns, and then the original one, slip one yarn over, brioche pearl one. So we are back into, we are out of the increased stitches now into the regular brioche knitting. Slip one yarn over, burp one, and then leaving the background color on the right side of the work, slip the last two stitches. So this is your increases and decreases completed in one row. The wrong side rows are going to be just regular rows. So let's do those quickly. Turn your work and start with the color A. Slip one. Purl one, slip one yarn over, brioche pearl one. Okay. Slip one yarn over, brioche pearl one. 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 Slip one yarn over, pearl and pearl. This is done. Now slide your stitches and let's go and catch up with color B. Slip, slip, brioche knit, slip one yarn over, 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 brioche knit, and then the last two. Leave the background color hanging on the right side of your work, which is behind, and then slip the last two stitches. This is how the right side looks after completing increases and decreases. I'm going to go ahead and knit 4 more plain pattern rows and then do a centered 5 to 1 decrease stitch. This is how our swatch looks after completing one set of pattern rows after decreases and increases. So now let's go ahead and work the center 5 to 1 decrease stitch. Here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches over which we will work the decrease. So slip one, knit one, brioche knit 1, slip 1 yarn over. Now we have the over the next 5 stitches we are going to work the decrease, 5 stitch to 1 stitch decrease. This stitch is going to be worked like this. Slip the first 3 stitches onto the right needle, knit the next 2 stitches together, and then pass the slipped stitches over the